In this section, we're going to go over finding the slope of a line. So the slope of a line is basically telling us how steep the line is, right? So we usually refer to this as the rise over the run. So when we look at this about the rise and the run, it's another way where we can see that the rise is the change in y, and the run is the change in x. So let's look at two different points. So let's say this point right here, I'm going to call it, so let's say this is on the graph right here, and I'm going to say that this point right here is my x1, y1 with my corresponding coordinates, and this point over here is x2, y2. So when, if it's the change, so if I say the slope, not slope, but slope is the change, we're going to use that the Greek letter delta, the change in y over the change in x. So the change in y, it's basically how much change was in the y directions. So let's say that this point was this is 5, this is 4, this is 2, and this is also, let's say this is 3. Actually, no, let's say this is 1. Okay, so these are the points. So if you say how much this is the change in y, the change in y is how many units right here? We have 3 units, right? Because from 1 to go to 4, or we can simply say 4 minus 1 is the change in y, and the change in x is 5 minus 2. So that's 3, and 5 minus 2 is also 3. This does not look like a slope of 1, just poorly drawn. So the slope is 1, very poorly drawn. But also what we can say is that the change in y over change in x is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we usually say that this is your slope, right? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's say if I asked, so let me do one quick problem, and then I want this information to help us talk about vertical and horizontal lines. So let's say we have the points -2, 0, and 3, 1, and we said that we want to find the slope of the line passing through these 2 points, right? So all I have to do is I want to make sure I label them. It doesn't matter. So if I say this is x1, this has to be y1. Then therefore this is x2 and y2. You just have to be consistent with the notation. So now I want to say 1 minus 0 over 3 minus -2. So 1 minus 0 is 1. 3 minus -2 is 5. So the slope is 1/5. So it's saying for every 1 unit that I go up in the y direction, there's a change of 5 units in the x direction. Okay. So now that we know about slope, actually let me make a different video for the vertical and horizontal lines.